Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Bright Side of Life. I am your host, Melissa Bright, and today I am talking with Andray. Andray is the superhero of love, but it wasn't always this way. For 20 years, he was living in hate and darkness. He hated everything and everyone, and truthfully didn't want to be here anymore. He had no goals or dreams or a purpose, and he just basically did as he was told because he had no love, guidance, nurturing, or support in his life. But have gone through a spiritual awakening. It allowed him to see a whole new world and make better choices, decisions, and relearn life for the first time. Now he is on a mission to spread love, heal the planet through his actions of love, and unite the planet so that future generations don't grow up with hate in their hearts. Andray, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Oh, Melissa, I thank you for that amazing introduction. I never had something like that. I am doing absolutely just splendid. How I'm just ah grateful to be here. How are you
I
doing?
I am doing great and I'm so excited to finally meet you. We have had so much conversation on social media,
Yes,
and
we have.
every interaction that literally you have ever sent me has always been so kind and so, I don't even know what to say. Everything, and I'm just like, this is literally like the nicest person on earth besides my stepdad. Nobody can be nicer than him. But as I said, that was not always that way.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we use the word hate in your bio, and I already asked you. I kind of would like to hear your story of why this did, why hate? Why were you feeling this way? And I already told you you can share as much or as little
Mhm.
about your story. Um, but that's going to be my first question for you.
Yeah, I grew up. We all have childhood trauma, so I want to say right off the bat that I've completely forgiven all people that have done me wrong, and I've taken responsibility and no more effective blaming. So right off the bat,
Mhm.
everybody from my parents to teachers to mentors to whomever that have done me wrong, they didn't know what they didn't know and they did the best they could with the tools they had at the time. So I've completely have just let that go because it's I've taken responsibility for that.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it really started when I was around 11 or 12 and I was a happy kid. I grew up okay. Of course, my parents they were very like very low class.
Mhm.
They worked like factory jobs and stuff. So they really worked their butts off just to put me through school and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were very strict because they came from more of the older world where it took a lot of like punishment. There was no like grounding in the house. It was like more beatings and stuff because they need to discipline me.
Right.
Anyways, so around when I was 11, there was an incident at school that happened to a boy, and I was trying to protect him because he was being bullied. Because I had been bullied a lot when I was a kid going through school. I wasn't
Mhm.
strong. I was physically weak. I would always get beat up at school, and I was basically just well, let's just say I've been picked on a lot.
Yeah.
So when I tried to go and defend this boy, and I was able to help him, when I went to go and to give him a hug and say, "Hey, are you okay?" just to comfort him, he pushed me away because back then, being part of like the gay group or LGBTQ, which I have only love and respect for,
Mhm.
back then it was a like a sin, and
Yeah.
because of that, it put a scar on me that um, I started like closing off. And the reason for that is because everybody was starting to call me, he's gay, he's the guy that likes guys. People would stay away from me. It's like I had, remember the word cooties back in the
Yeah.
days?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I had cooties, right? And I started just having to change my persona, but
Mm.
wearing these fake masks and putting on layers to protect my heart because
Yeah.
I had already been hurt, because I couldn't trust anybody. And these masks were like wearing like dark clothing, having a hoodie over my head, putting on the tough guy act, making sure to like nobody get in my way. I was really mean and cruel to a lot of
Mm.
people in my path.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be that way. I had to put on this act because back in the days, there wasn't, I'm going to call it imbalance of energy. The current term that we call is toxic masculinity, but I like to use
Okay.
imbalance of energies because it's a term that guys and girls need to balance both their masculine and feminine energies, which I didn't know until recently. And yeah, so that moment really started that path. And the words like manifesting and attracting and all that stuff wasn't even in my atmosphere until recently. So I was
Yeah.
only attracting more negative because I was
Mm-hmm.
negative, because I was
Mm-hmm.
putting on like I was putting fear and hate into my heart because I can't trust anybody, and I keep
Right.
attracting people that I don't trust, and thus it became a feedback loop, a cycle,
Yeah.
a negative loop. And when someone that was super positive would enter my atmosphere, I was afraid because that energy was foreign to me. So I'd push them away. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with you. Stay away from me. Just stay away. I was
Right.
terrified because I didn't trust that person. And I'm so sorry to all those in the past that I've done that to. But I had to protect myself because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know what love was. That's the thing.
Mm.
I didn't have love for myself. I didn't have love for anybody. I grew up with no love because my parents, they weren't very nurturing. Like I said, I've stopped effectively blaming them,
Right.
but they didn't know how to have like love for me. They were more like they work, they just put food on the table, kind of that's their mentality of love, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't like giving me a hug, you know, no nurturing, nothing like that. So I
Yeah.
literally kind of grew up on my own. Even though I lived with them, I grew up by myself.
Right.
And because when you grow up by yourself and you really have no friends going through school, you end up being lonely. But I didn't know that. And loneliness is one of
Mm.
the major things in the world that can kill you, literally,
Right.
can kill you. So I basically was alone and depressed. But I also was angry and hateful. And anytime somebody would come into my atmosphere, I'd push them away, whether they were negative or positive, 'cause I couldn't trust them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I kept bringing negative people into my life because I kept attracting that because I was bringing that kind of energy to people.
Right.
And when I did that, unfortunately, they showed me sides of humanity that I didn't trust. And I just said, you know what? I'd rather just be alone. But in that process, again, that created another loop where now I'm alone, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I have nobody, but I can't trust anybody. I can't be with anybody because everybody's the same. I used to think that everybody in the world is the same, which is not true, of course, but that's what I thought. So I couldn't
Right.
trust anything or anyone. So the words like trust, believe, have faith, and hope just didn't exist in my life at all. And I
Mm.
went through life being told to just do as you're told, don't speak back. And I would always dim my light and
Right.
always have to just take orders. And here we are today.
Are these all things that you realized were happening at those ages in terms of, I know for sure I don't trust people. That I can clearly see. But the actions that you were doing. And I asked that question because I have been very guilty of self sabotaging
Mhm.
my current relationship because I don't feel I'm worthy of a person that is that good to me. But these are not the words that are coming in consciously. Like
Right.
it's other stuff that I do that you reflect and you're like, "Oh, that's why I was doing that." So,
Mhm.
what did you learn like in your later years and what did you consciously know when you were in like that pain and stuff?
So to start with the being consciously in the knowing, I
Mhm.
honestly didn't even know. I was unaware, really.
Yeah.
Literally, I was like asleep.
Yeah.
It's like I'm living another person's life. Like I'm like the outside observer.
Mhm.
I wasn't living me.
Yeah.
So I'd wake up, I would see myself in the mirror, I would tell myself all these demeaning and degrading things like you're ugly, you're a piece of trash, you're this, you're that, and I had no love for me. And every time I looked in the mirror, I'm like, who are you? Like,
Right.
right? And then, the stuff that I've learned is being aware, because awareness is as much as it sounds very cliche, it is key.
Yep.
Believe me, it always starts with awareness.
Yeah.
Because without being aware, you don't know until either A, someone tells you, or B, you feel a feeling and become consciously aware of it.
Yeah.
So awareness was the major key to like, wait a minute, what have I been like doing? Like obviously I had a spiritual awakening that really started that whole transition, and that I'll explain that shortly, but it was a
Yeah.
catalyst that really shifted everything. And when I basically had that shift, I was like, "Oh my god, what am I doing?" Like everything just kind of like, "What the hell have I been doing this entire time?"
Mhm.
Right? Like
Yeah.
I've been so mean and cruel, and yet like here I am. And now, and I'll get right now into the spiritual awakening. The girl who I drove by, she was lifeless in her car, and I wished a year before that, which was in 2018, I wanted to die because didn't want to be here anymore. I was done with life. I was broken in all aspects. I hated everything. I hated everyone. I was broken mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and even financially. I was like done.
Yeah.
And I was going to actually commit suicide and jump off the building from my workplace, but I told somebody, my soul told somebody, and that person alerted like my HR and my manager, and that was the first time that someone actually wanted to listen to me and actually care about me. But of course it didn't fully take effect 1 year until after that happened, when this girl was basically lifeless in her car. And I drove by and I'm like, "Oh my god, this poor girl can no longer live her goals and dreams. I'm here and I'm still alive. And this girl is no longer here, and I have this gift of still being alive, and she's not here. And this could have been me 20 minutes ago if I had left 20 minutes earlier.
Right.
What am I doing? I'm wasting time. It's time to get to work." And then all of a sudden, just everything started to shift.
Mm. Huh. Okay, so what this might be hard to remember at that time
Yeah.
once you saw her and the shift. Do you remember some of the first things that you started either doing in
Hmm.
action steps, or you started thinking or realizing, and then what kind of people started coming into your life? Because 2019, that's when this happened, or was it
That's right.
28 20? Okay, so
2019.
this
2019.
is fairly recent.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
within the last 3 years. So what were some of those first things
Hmm.
that started changing for you?
Ah, this is going to be fascinating because the same day when once I got home and I was
Mhm.
still like stunned. It's like,
Yeah.
what did I just see? Because I've never seen a dead body ever in my life. People have passed in my life
Yeah.
and come and go, but I've never went to their funeral because I didn't care. Right? I
Yeah.
didn't care about anything or anyone. Right?
Mhm.
So when I got home that day, my YouTube channel, my older one, was filled of gaming and anime and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there was a video. It was a motivational video. And I'm like, motivational video? What is this? I've never seen. I didn't even know what the word motivation was, to be quite honest. So I clicked it because it something drew me to just click it.
Yeah.
It's like I was watching it on YouTube on my TV, and all I heard were these people talking about love. And they're talking about like you can be anything you want to be in this world. You know, you may have lived a life of hell, but you have the ability to change now. You can change in an instant, but you have to be aware. And again, it
Mhm.
comes back to awareness.
Yeah.
And if you want to do the change, be that change, right? You have the power within you to do it. Everything is in you right now. You just have to go and find it.
Right.
And when I heard that, it was, I believe it was Les Brown that was
Okay.
speaking in that motivational video, because it was just words on screens and their voices. It wasn't like actual video of
Him.
anybody.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, you know how YouTube has its algorithm. When you start watching one thing,
Yeah.
another one showed up,
Right.
and I started watching that. And then it started talking about having routine,
Mm.
like a morning routine. So, like journaling, getting your thoughts from your head down on paper so you can see it, writing
Right.
things out, going to the mirror and telling yourself that you love you, going and doing some workouts, going out into nature without technology.
Mm.
Just all these things I've never did in my life. Never did in my life.
Right.
So I was like, if these people are successful and they told their story and they went through hell and I went through my own hell, then surely they found a way to overcome it. So I
Right.
said, may as well take a shot at this and see how it goes. Of course, there was struggle. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, there was adversity. There was times that I like failed flat on my face. But the first set of stuff I really started doing was journaling. Journaling was
Mm.
very powerful. And I know recently you started putting those journal prompts were been absolutely amazing. So thank you for those.
Yeah.
But journaling has been amazing because when you have it all up here, you're having all this mental energy only up here. So to free up that energy, you got to put it down on paper so you can at least get rid of it and you can just have it on the paper because it's stuck up here. Everything is all energy in our planet,
Right.
right? So I had to start. I didn't know this at the time, but I started just taking thoughts and putting it down on paper and just seeing what I was writing. And of course, the first things I were saying, it didn't feel congruent to me. Like saying affirmations like I am powerful, I am beautiful, I am handsome, I am confident, I am wealthy. It
Right.
didn't fully set in because I didn't believe it. Because words without feelings is just words.
Yep.
And I've been learning about feelings lately. And we're going to
Right.
get into that shortly. So, yeah, the first thing was really journaling. And then from journaling, it started like reading like books. And let me tell you, I was one of those guys that would say books are for losers. Books are for people that are nerds that
Yeah.
have nothing better to do with themselves. Oh my god. Books are amazing. So to anyone that just heard me say that, books are amazing. They are awesome. So if you're not a reader, I highly encourage you to become a reader because it'll change your life.
Yeah.
And the very first book that I read was called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Okay.
That that started the whole morning routine thing. So it really helped me learn about setting up my day for success. Like for example, I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning and rush to work because I was trying to beat the 9 to 5 rush hour.
Mm-hmm.
I'd get to work, but I would have to just start work.
Mm. Yeah.
But when I started implementing a morning routine by waking up 30 minutes earlier, I got to journal. I got to do like a couple push-ups and a couple sit-ups and jumping jacks. I started reading a little bit of positive stuff, not turning on my phone first thing in the morning like I used to do, and using it as an alarm and actually getting a clock as
Right.
my alarm. Reading like writing down affirmations and just being present and silent, which by the way, I didn't know what being present was.
Right.
Again, recently learned how to be really present, but really just being silent with myself. And these things, it just evolved over time. And
Yeah.
now, like, I call it this superhero morning routine because it's evolved exponentially because I've added so many other things into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know how many guests we've talked about like routines and whatever it is. It's a
Mhm.
morning routine, it's a workout routine, it's a journaling, meditation, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and I often so say that all of these things sound great in theory, like you watched all these people saying, this is what helped me, this is what, until you do it and practice it.
Yeah.
Um, it's so important. I lost my train of thought of what I was going to say about this, and I'll get back to it. What was I going to say about it? Oh, well, I wanted to ask you
Mhm.
because the feeling is so huge.
Yeah.
And I have been at such a weird place in the past like month of like kind of some depression, some second
Mhm.
guessing myself, self-worth issues. Um I am very much a big achiever.
Mhm.
And what I've realized is that I can achieve all of these things, right? I
Yes.
can achieve, I mean, I've achieved a lot in 2 years from like my journey of like even podcasting,
Mhm.
but there's still something missing, and that tells me that there's still a part of me that I haven't discovered. Because I was just talking to Tina Lifford and she's like, it's all about inside. You can have all the money in the
Mhm.
world, you can have all the success, all the popularity, everything, but there is going to be something inside that you're still going to feel is missing. So
Absolutely.
I think my question to you is like, when did you, because you didn't like yourself either, when was the shift that this was like, this routine is finally working, or this is the thing that really started making me love myself and feel that I was worthy of love, acceptance, relationships,
Mhm.
so on and so forth?
So there's two instances that I realized that this was working for me. So you saw that I had a bio photo of my old and my new, of my
Yep.
transformation.
Hmm.
I was about 50 to 80 pounds overweight
Okay.
because I didn't take care of myself. I didn't love me as I was eating crap. I was
Right.
going to bed late, basically just unhealthy.
Hmm.
And when I was wearing my suits, I had to like really like shove them, like put like my gut in, just like close the suit jacket and zip up the
Yeah.
pant. It was just brutal. So when I started doing the morning routines, like the workouts and the meditations and the reading and the positive affirmations and telling myself that I love me, I started seeing a change not only physically but mentally.
Mm.
So the physical, obviously, because I'm working out,
Yeah.
right? But the mental was like, I started going into the mirror and I started like, huh, you look very handsome today. I hope you have a fantastic day, Andre. And I had this big smile because I never used to smile. I used to always have a frown or the resting bitch face,
Yeah.
basically. But I started having this beautiful smile.
Yeah.
And then how I knew it was starting to work is when I started going to work, people were like, something's different about you. Not just by like losing weight and stuff and looking better, but
Right.
you've got a different vibe, different glow about you now.
Mm.
And I like this. So, and it wasn't just one person, it was a culmination of a lot of people.
Right.
'Cause when I was going to work, I was very negative. I was
Yeah.
very like pessimistic, and I was only attracting negative conversations with people.
Right.
But now the script has been flipped, and they're like, I like this new you. Keep
Yeah.
doing whatever it is that you're doing because it's working. And I'm like, hmm, fascinating. I guess I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing and I'll just evolve it over time.
Right.
And yeah, it's just basically those were the two things. It's like, obviously, I saw myself physically seeing the change,
Right.
but it was the mentality and then the energy I was outputting to other people. They're like, yeah, you look really different. You feel different. I like being around this guy.
Mm.
Not to say I didn't like being around the other guy because a lot of people were still kind and stuff,
Right.
but I was very negative, very, very negative.
Yeah.
Um, but they're like, I love this guy. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I told them, like, I don't know, just journaling. I'm working out. I'm telling myself that I love me more and seems to be working. It didn't just happen overnight. It took a couple months for it to really start setting in.
Yeah.
but constant repetition, it started to weave into my soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I started listening to Atomic Habits. Have you read that one
Mhm.
yet?
I have, by James Clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't finished it, but even like the first 2 chapters I listened to, I'm like my mind was blown because it
Mhm.
talks about how like these habits, they become like your identity. And once they
Yeah.
become your identity, then that's just who you are. This is no longer like I write in a journal every day. No, you're a journaler or whatever you call that.
Yeah.
Or, if you want to be a golfer, like then you go and do all that and you literally embody everything that
Mhm.
a golf person is. And I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so true." And I'm enjoying listening to this because I've told you I've been in this weird part for like this last month and a half. And I'm like, I got so upset because it was like I've lost all these tools. I knew them,
Yeah.
but I didn't even want to do them. I'm like, open up my journal. I'm like, oh, I haven't been in my journal for 5 days. Like, this is not me. I wrote in my gratitude journal every day for like 10 months straight.
Right.
And it really messes with you when it like knocks you off kilter,
Mhm.
whatever it is. And for me, it was literally my physical energy I did not have. And so scraping to just wake up every morning, that was awful.
Yeah.
So just hearing this stuff, and I'm like, this is the stuff that is going to get you back. And
Mhm.
something that I realized a long time, like during COVID, what was so hard for me was in 2019, I did 80-day obsession with Beachbody and lost like 30 something pounds. I had done insanity several times before that. But in 2020, all that went out the door because life was chaotic.
Of
That was
course.
my own excuse. Like I could have
Mhm.
done it. But what I realized is so many of us lost our routine, which
Yeah.
is often attached to our purpose in life, whether that's your
Mhm.
job and you love your job or your career or your purpose. But that all went by the wayside.
Yeah.
So finally, when I started my podcast in 2020, I finally felt like I had a routine back. I knew what to
Mhm.
do. Oh, I'm going to wake up today and do an interview, and then I'm going to edit it, and then I'm going to and it's so much of if you feel lost, I feel part of it is that routine of something.
Yes. Definitely. You hit it so perfectly because since 2019, and the awakening happened on October 6th of
Okay.
2019. So you
Okay.
can think of me as like a almost 3-year-old soul right now in an
Yeah.
adult body. But
Yeah.
every single day, yes, it's evolved, but every single day, it's at least journaling, working out, definitely working out every day.
Yeah.
Whether it's like 10 minutes to or 2 hours,
Right.
getting the body to move.
Yep.
Going into mirror, telling myself I love me, and giving me positive affirmations to myself. You're
Right.
handsome today. You look good today, right? Putting a smile on my face, and smiling changes our physiology and our
Yes.
chemical body. Because like I actually can feel a difference when I'm smiling. When
Yep.
I'm not smiling, I can definitely feel the difference
Yeah.
because I became aware of it. But yes, when there was one day that I didn't get to like fully journal until like the almost the end of the night. I was almost about to fall asleep. I was like, I feel kind of weird. Like I didn't get this journaling done today.
Right.
But I also gave myself grace because it doesn't need to be rigid. It can
Mhm.
be
Mm-mm.
flexible.
Yeah.
And I also developed that superhero morning routine to be flexible. Now, I used to be very rigid. It's
Right.
got to be this. Now it's okay. I'm gonna definitely do my workout because that's a non-negotiable. Because I have a lot of non-negotiables,
Yeah.
but it doesn't need to be in an order. If I need to journal later in the day, I'll journal later in the day. If I need to
Right.
meditate at 4 p.m. instead of 4 a.m., I'll do the meditation there. It just as long as you do something, it's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's all
And
it is.
yeah, that is so important because I feel like with social media, we see everybody's
Hmm.
routines of what they're doing, or
Yeah.
podcast you listen and you have somebody that you look up to, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden you're like, "Oh my god, I did not do what Gabrielle Bernstein did
Right.
today. Like I suck." No, you don't.
No, you
You
don't.
don't have the same life that she does or her schedule. You make it what works for you. If you work at
Exactly.
4 a.m., then figure it out. And I'm just saying that because I am such a person that will get down on myself if I'm not doing it like XYZ because that
Hmm.
person did it. So it can't possibly work if I don't do it in this manner. And
Yeah.
it's not true.
Yeah. You're absolutely right, because when I was like I mentioned, it has evolved. So it was
Yeah.
very rigid at first.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's working,
Mm-hmm.
but it just doesn't, it's the word I'm trying to get at, it wasn't fully like congruent. I was like, something needs to change. That's why I kept evolving it. Right?
Yeah.
It took like at least a whole year for this morning routine to really come about to what it is. And really, it's not even now a morning routine. It's just a routine, a
Yeah.
superhero routine.
Yeah.
Um, but once I developed that, like it's got to be more flexible, not rigid. That's when I was like, okay, giving myself grace, because I would beat myself up
Right.
that if I didn't do my workout at 3 a.m. because now I wake up at 3 a.m.
God.
Um, yeah, if I didn't work out at 3 a.m., I would beat myself up like, ah, I
Right.
feel like a loser. I didn't wake up at 3 a.m. to do my workout. No, as long as
Yeah.
I wake up and do the workout, that's all that matters.
Right.
To beat myself up, because then we put ourselves in this negative loop, and we're like, ah, I'm not gonna do the workout now because I missed it, and it's like now my whole day is all over the place. No, 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 no. You can still do it.
Yeah.
Just give yourself grace. Just do it whenever you can. Whether you gotta switch it to the evening, cool. As long as you get it done, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
I love that. I love that.
yeah.
So, in this process, you were working through a lot of stuff, and one of them was trusting people again.
Mm,
Um, what was your solution to really trusting people, whether that be in relationships, friendships,
mhm.
whatever?
So this one's gonna be quite interesting because this. So I have to give some context. So during the awakening, I still didn't fully like give full trust. I was still kind of like, you know,
Yeah,
I was positive now, but I was like, I still don't have that trust in other people.
right,
So I'm kind of still gonna hold my ground.
right.
COVID came obviously,
Mhm.
and then we all had to stay at home. So I
Right.
took it upon myself to just turn off my phone for 5 months.
Yes.
I turned off my phone for 5 months. My accelerated learning and growing happened in those 5 months at the beginning of COVID when we didn't know if we should leave our house or if we were gonna die.
Right.
Right. I turned off my phone. I told everyone that I was close to at the time, guys, I'm gonna go and work on myself. You ain't gonna hear from me for a very long time. I don't know if I'm gonna come back, but I will come back eventually at some point. I'm gonna turn off my phone, and I got to work. Now, the first thing I was working on was like, okay, I'm positive, but how do I build connections now with people? So I started
Mhm.
watching TED Talks, and TED Talks started becoming like a thing for me. I kept
Mm.
consuming them. I kept like listening to them, and a lot of people were like, you know, you can't do everything by yourself. That's what I was doing. You
Yeah.
have to rely on people. You have to, in order to make the world a better place, you can't do this on your own. You can't go and unite the planet by yourself. You need everybody with you,
Yeah.
supporting you, and you got to support them. So when I was watching a lot of TED Talks, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I want to give a talk at some point to do something about this. But it's really just starting to rebuild connections once I came out of that 5 months, and
Mhm.
really being very intentional with who I'm speaking to for versus who isn't. So like now I'm starting to learn whose energy is here to help me and who's there to bring me down.
Mm.
Basically, and I realized really quickly who was there that's going to help me and who was there that was bringing me down, and I had to, with unconditional love, let them go.
Yeah.
I still love them. They're still great people, but I also had to learn to protect my energy. And that was another thing I had to learn during those 5 crucial months. Very
Right.
fundamental things like protecting energy, trust, faith, um, being more positive, taking
Yeah.
care of myself, self love, compassion, nurture, kindness, all of it. All of it. And those souls that were basically the negative ones that said, because I wasn't the superhero love during that time. I was
Mhm.
just the guy that's like, I want to help people, but I want to help people how I used to be. I want
Yeah.
to help those that are negative. Maybe I can do something with this and help people. So those that were like saying you can't help people, you can't do this, I had to let them go. I had to let them go. But then I also told a set of other people that what I want to do, and they're like, you can do it. I believe in you. You got this. And those are the ones that really started helping me, like, okay, I can trust people because there are people out there that actually believe in me and
Right.
not tearing me down. Because that's the thing. A lot of people used to tear me down. That's why I didn't trust anybody. They would
Right.
tell me like hateful things, or you're not good enough, you're dumb, you're stupid, all this stuff. I was told it all.
Mm.
I'll never amount to anything in life.
Yeah.
But then I had people, it was kind of a new experience to hear someone say, "You got this, Andre. I believe in you. I have so much faith in you. You can do anything." When
Yeah.
I heard that from other people telling me that during this whole transformation, I was like, "Okay, I'm attracting the right people now.
Right.
I'm putting out the right energy, the right frequency."
Yeah.
And they came into my soul, and yeah.
That is so awesome. And I just, it makes me sad to think that there's people out there, whether they were relatives, friends, coworkers, whatever, like saying those things in terms of being like negative. Like you can't do this. I've never had to deal with that except for like with my dad. Now he never said that. He was just you can't do anything right in terms of like chores or something. Like why
Mhm.
are you this is this way? So that's where like my self-worth issues came from. I cannot
Yeah,
even imagine where I would be if somebody literally looked at me and said, "Melissa, you can't do this. Why are you going to try this? You're
yeah.
not smart." Like that would be a hard thing to work through, you know?
Yeah, and, recently when I became the superhero love, which the persona just came about this year at the earlier portion of this year, there was a few people on my YouTube channel that were basically saying, "Who do you think you are to think you're gonna unite the planet?" They wrote in my comments. All I did was, "I appreciate your input and your comment, and I value it. I am going to do it. I will send you unconditional love. I'm sending you unconditional love. And whether you like to be a part of this world with me that I'm going to help unite or not, that's cool. I appreciate and I love you no matter who you are, where you are on your journey. We're all on different timelines on our journey. And there are some people that are just not ready for that. And
Right.
that's okay. Because I know that not everybody in the world is going to love the superhero love, believe it or not. And I
Yeah.
had to accept that
Right.
and help those that really want help and want to help me unite the planet with love. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially coming from where you did come from. You know that you have been in that position
I have.
before and
Mhm,
they're not ready to receive that message. They
mhm.
are probably filled with extreme pain as well
Yes,
be-
they are.
because
Hurt
they're
people hurt people.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So they're nobody that is like I feel confident and I love myself and I'm going to say this hurtful thing to somebody. No, that doesn't that's not how that goes at all.
yeah, yeah. There were 2 more instances I wanted to share with the audience that really helped me transcend to where I am right now.
Yeah.
So you mentioned gratitude and your gratitude journal
Hmm.
earlier. During that beginning of the awakening, I didn't
Hmm.
know what gratitude was. That word didn't exist at all for me.
Yeah.
But I kept hearing it in those motivational videos that I was telling you that I watched, and all the interviews that I watched with like Tom Bilyeu, all the podcasts. I watched them all.
Yeah.
And that's how I started to learn about my teachers and like Gabby Bernstein and Marie Forleo, everybody, right? Like Tom Bilyeu, Lewis
Yeah.
Howes, everybody. You name them, I know them all. I've learned a lot from each and every one. That's why I call them my teachers.
That's awesome.
But there was an incident in 2020 at almost the end in November.
Mm.
Um, Actually, I have to even go back 2 months before that. In September of 2020, I almost lost my life for the first time. And this was a lesson for me to learn about gratitude, but I didn't learn it at that moment. What had happened was I had been bitten by a poisonous spider while I was asleep.
Oh my gosh.
And I woke up, I still did my workout, I was doing my morning routine. I was pretty I'm like, I'm gonna go through this pain or whatever. And I went to the hospital. I was like, and I saw this red line going up my arm into my chest near my heart, and it stopped there. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go. Like, this is serious.
Yeah.
And then when I got to the hospital, the doctor's like, you've been bitten by a poisonous spider, and you're lucky you came when you did, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be here. I'm like, oh. So then, a couple days after, it was October 6th, because it happened at the end of September.
Okay.
And I created my first ever YouTube video called I Love You World. And I just escaped death just before that video. And then after that, my uncle passes,
Mm.
which was my very first family member that ever passed. I was actually now finally close with. And now I saw death for the second time. And I was like, that could have been me just a couple days ago.
Right.
Like, or sorry, a couple months, like a month ago, because he died in October.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. But I still didn't know what gratitude was. So then, a couple days later, after his funeral, I ended up getting COVID. And I drove myself to the hospital, and then I collapsed at the hospital.
Mm.
I could have collapsed while I was driving, and I could have taken somebody else out.
Right.
I was so like sick, so sick, because the antivenom and the IV was infecting my bloodstream still, because they were still curing from the poisonous venom that I
Mm.
had. So it weakened my immune system. It compromised it.
Yeah.
So I was at the ICU when I woke up, and I had this tube in my mouth, and I was breathing on a ventilator. And I was in the ICU, and I see other patients older than me, and they're all dropping one after the other. They're all basically dying. The vaccine wasn't out back then. And I was like, you did not. When I say you, I was like God, universe, or higher power, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
You did not have me go through this morning, this whole routine, this whole journey for me to die now. There's no freaking way that I'm dying. I'm getting out of here. And what saved me was my mindset, and I'll tell you why. There was a story in one of the books I read, and I forget which book it was, but there was soldiers in World War One and Two. They were fighting in bunkers. Some made it, some didn't. You know what's the difference between it? Between them that made it versus those that didn't make it? Mindset. And I'll tell you why. Those that had people to live for, to come back home to, that had love letters from their loved ones, they had the
Hmm.
will to fight.
Mm.
Whereas those that did not have anybody to live for, they perished. They're like, whatever, I'm going to die anyways. It's mindset. And
Yeah.
the reason why I bring up mindset right now is because the positive attitude that I developed during that basic the basic time of my transformation, that really hit my soul. It literally helped me to stay alive. But in that moment, I also learned what gratitude was. because for 3
Yeah.
weeks I was trapped in the ICU. So
Mm,
every moment I was like, I'm still here. I'm still alive.
right.
I'm still alive. And ever since that moment, and which was November of 2020, gratitude has been the very first thing. As soon as I put my feet down from waking up, I am grateful to be here, to spread love, to be of service, to help give back, to see whoever it is I need to help. And me and you've been a part of Jen and Chris's boot camp.
Yep.
And Jen talked about hope. Help
Hmm.
one person every day, which I
Yeah.
absolutely love.
Yeah.
So ever since then, I've been really just finding out who it is I need to help. And I ask these questions in the morning. How can I be of service today to you, universe, God, creator, source, whatever you want to call it?
Right.
How can I learn today? What is it that you need to teach me today? Who is it that needs my help the most today? How can I help that one person today?
Yeah.
And I put those questions in and I let them just, whatever happens during my day, it happens,
Right.
right? Whether it's just sending a text to somebody, spreading love into like a post like yours,
Yeah.
whatever it is, just to put a smile on your face. That's all that I want to do, is see people win, to see people happy, to see people smiling. That's it. That's all I want to do, is spread love. Be
Yeah.
like a love angel going around and just casting magical fairy dust of love. That's all I want to do.
And you do such a good job at it.
Thank
I'm telling you, there are never better comments than Andre's on any of my stuff. His is always the best.
you.
And I will tell you that that is where, since I've been in this weird funk,
Mhm.
I'm like, Melissa, helping people is the thing that will get you out of your funk. It being
Absolutely.
of service in any way that will get you out of your funk. So
Mhm.
yesterday, I'm going to try not to get emotional. I told you I made spaghetti sauce.
That's right.
This sounds so silly, but I knew that my daughter was off work
Mhm.
and she had the rest of the day. And I'm like, I can either sit here today and my house is a mess and I can go get busy and try to just be a distraction and like whatever. I was just kind of in this weird mood. And I'm like, no, I want to create a family dinner for me and my boyfriend and my daughter.
Mhm.
And that is going to be me being of service today. And that sounds silly. Like, okay, yes, I'm a mom and I'm supposed to cook dinner, but this was going to be like a big thing that I wanted to do. And it was, and I played like Italian music and I made like out on the patio, there was a stereo and I put Italian music and set the dinner table. And I'm like, I just wanted to give my boyfriend and my daughter a good meal like we're at a restaurant,
Mhm.
And it made me feel so good that I did that
Amazing.
because sometimes since I've lost so much family in my life, I get really sad that I feel like I'm not giving my daughter enough,
Mhm.
and that makes me sad. And I don't want my daughter to look back on the time that she lived with me and be like, we didn't really do much, we didn't whatever. And so now I'm trying to be more intentional with that.
Mhm.
And it can start there. Like those
Yeah,
are the two people I helped yesterday, just
exactly.
making their day brighter by having a good family meal.
Mhm.
Um so I say all that because of what you are trying to do. It doesn't always have to be this big elaborate thing and giving 80 hours of your week to someone. Just making someone's day better by whatever that
Yeah,
is so important.
absolutely. And there was one thing that I struggled with a lot, was clarity, and what is it that I bring value to the world? Because like I ask myself every day, is what I'm doing, is it actually helping anybody? And quite frankly, it is, right? Like
Yeah,
it actually does help people, and it allows them to be seen, heard,
right.
validated, understood. That's what I'm here for. I'm like the friendly neighborhood superhero love. That's what I am here for. To just be your companion, your superhero on your guide to just help you through life, through whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
going through. That if you need some love, you just need a hug in person, you need that friendly text or a call. That's all I'm here to do is to spread that love so that you can feel connected and not feel alone because the quite frankly, everything I went through stems from loneliness,
Mm,
really.
right.
And I know what it feels like to be alone. And I'm going to try not to get emotional right now, but loneliness makes me cry.
Yeah.
And yesterday I had a conversation with someone and I started tearing up because I know what it felt like to
Mhm.
be alone.
Right.
We need human connection. It's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, you know, why I was depressed and angry and sad and all that. It was really the true core was loneliness. I was
Right.
alone,
Yeah.
right? But now I know how to be alone but not lonely, right? I have the self-love. I fill my own cup so I can pour it into others and then they pour it back into me. It's like an infinite loop, like this thing behind me, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just really yeah, just doing just nice things for people. It makes you feel good inside. And doesn't, like you said, doesn't need to be this elaborate thing. Something
Right.
small.
Yeah.
And make that shift. I've done something for one person and she gave me such amazing feedback that I was like, okay, I'm gonna just this makes sense to do. She was having
Right.
a miserable day and she was on the bus. And this was recently. And
Mhm.
I just smiled at her. I had my mask off, temporary, because I was still we're still kind of in Toronto. We're still kind of in like
Yeah.
our COVID like protocols and stuff.
Yeah.
And I smiled at her, and she smiled back. And I came over to her, and I started chatting with her. She said, "You made me feel better today, because I just wanted to kill myself." I'm like,
Mm.
I understand how you feel. I've been there. I want to
Yeah.
do it myself. But you can make that shift. And there are people like me in this world that just want to see people like you win. You're not
Right.
alone.
Yeah.
Nobody's alone. So for your audience, if any of you out there feel like you're alone, I am here for you. We are here for you.
Yeah.
And you're not alone.
Yeah. I I love that you said that story. And something that I realized the other day that I'm still trying to work through
Mhm.
is I have always said you are not alone, you are not alone, you are not alone. And it's true, but the one thing we are alone with is our thoughts.
Mhm.
And that how powerful our thoughts are can sometimes be an extremely extremely scary thing, as so
Absolutely.
many of us know.
Mhm.
And that's when the moment that we do have to say something or reach out to somebody, tell a friend, give a clue or something.
Mhm.
Because, and I'm even guilty of it because my boyfriend is such a positive person that I feel guilty telling him that I'm sad or whatever. Not not all the time,
Mhm.
but I'm almost like, is he gonna say like, "What are you sad about? What do you have to be sad about?" Not that that's his way, but
Mhm.
that's what my mind is telling me. Like, why
Right.
would I even tell somebody? Why am I gonna bother somebody? Um, and I don't want people to feel that way. I
Mhm.
want them to feel okay to tell somebody that they're struggling with whatever thoughts
Yeah.
of worthiness, loneliness, whatever it might be, because we all got a pile, a list of 10 things
Yeah.
going on at one time.
Mhm.
Um, and so it's amazing that you were able to help her.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what the smile, I mean, she could have just, what are you look, why are you smiling at
Yeah,
me? You
exactly.
know? And instead it was powerful. And that's the thing is so often people think like it's just me. Why could I possibly make a difference? I am telling you that your story in your life can make a difference because me and Andre don't have the same story, but we almost have very similar missions.
Definitely.
And Andre, you need to tell people your story. Like,
Hmm.
somebody commented on it, and I didn't know your full story of like you hating everybody and hating your life. And now you're here, complete opposite. Like, that's
Yeah.
incredible. And that gives people so much hope to be like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, if this guy can do it, maybe I really can become a different person or, whatever.
Yeah. I learned that you can change in an instant, right? You're right. Our thoughts are very powerful. And you just have to have love for yourself. You have to have that support system
Yeah.
because I didn't have the support,
Right.
right? And there's a lot of people out there that don't have support.
Yeah.
And I know that you feel like alone, but I'm telling you, you can, you will get through whatever it is you're going through. Everything in life is temporary. It's just a moment,
Mm.
just a moment in time. That's all it is. And I spoke about this on my last YouTube video that we are not our emotions. We are not.
Nope.
We are uniquely created masterpieces from God, universe, source, creator. Even if you don't believe in that, that's okay.
Yep.
But you are a uniquely created masterpiece exactly as you are. Every atom, molecule, energy, and matter that makes you up, you're a beautiful soul. Even if you feel like I have nothing to offer, I'm ugly, I'm not worth it, you are worth it. You are worthy, you are beautiful inside and out. The universe and God created you exactly the way you were born to be
Yeah.
because you have a unique gift to share to the world. And please share it with us. And this is what I'm doing, right? Because
Yep.
I used to tell myself all this stuff. I don't know what to do. I'm not good enough. I suck. I have nothing to value to offer
Right.
people. I have nothing of value. But I know that people just love my energy. They love just being around me. One of my friends said that I make people feel seen, heard, understood, and validate them. I was like, oh shit! I didn't
Right.
even know I was doing that. I had no idea I was doing that.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
amazing. You'll see. My boyfriend, he used to tell me, like, I will just meet people and I'm always wanting to hear people's stories, but I
Mhm.
don't just come out and be like, so tell me your story like I do on my
Of
podcast.
course.
And he, like, this one guy that's we were camping and he just starts sharing his life story with me, and
Mhm.
Brandon's like, you have something about you that people just like open up to you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is literally why I started my podcast, because I get so curious about people's stories, motivations, why they are where they are in their life,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. And sometimes that's just, it is a gift. I feel like it is a
Yeah.
gift because some people are like, I'm not telling that person shit about me.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I think
There's
it's
one
awesome.
Yeah, and there's one other thing I wanted to say too. The How I became really what I am is I really started tapping in to being my childlike self.
Mm,
Because a lot of the times when we were young, we were wanted to be things that we dreamed of, like a ballerina, an astronaut. For me, I wanted to be a Power Ranger. I wanted to save the world. I wanted to
yeah.
save the world from, well, obviously we don't have like monsters that are like terrorizing buildings and stuff, but I wanted to save the planet with love, right? So I usually cultivate my inner child and I nurture him. And a lot of us right now, we have a lot of like our child is still within our heart and soul.
Absolutely.
It hasn't gone. Your body may have grown, but he or she is still there. And
Yep.
if you're like, oh, I want to be this, but like people are gonna make fun of me or laugh at me, I'm going out to be the superhero of love. So I'm giving you permission right now, superhero, to go and do whatever it is you want to be. If you want to be a ballerina, go be the ballerina. If you want to be an astronaut or cowboy or princess, go and do it. You
Yep.
have my permission.
Yeah.
You never needed my permission, but you have my permission because I'm becoming the superhero of love. I am the superhero of love, and I am going to wear my superhero outfit, and you're going to see me around the world spreading love. That's it.
I love it. I love it. And it's so true about our inner child. I think of stuff that triggers me or whatever, and I'm like, this is like 5-year-old Melissa getting yelled at by her dad that's upset, and I'm
Yeah.
still not healed from that or
Mm.
whatever. And that's why, like, finding our purpose, I don't want to say is always attached to something that you were as a little kid, but it very
Right.
well can be. And I will never forget, for as long as I can remember, I was always good at talking to to students, my peers,
Mm.
in whatever grade it was, to making them feel like they fit in, like,
Right.
hey, what's up? If they kind of felt like I don't fit in here, I was always the first one to say, hey, like, and notice them and acknowledge them, because nobody wants to feel like the outcast or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Been there.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so that's where I'm like, that was what I did when I was a little kid. And now this is what I kind of do now with
Mhm.
my podcast and just talking to people out in the world.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you're
So
doing amazing, and I'm proud of you.
thank you. Same to you.
Thank you.
Okay. So what have we left out? We've talked about your mission being the
Mhm.
superhero of love. Um, all right. How can people find out about more of what you do, or where can people find you?
So most people can find me on my YouTube channel where I post consistently every week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And it's motivational content and a lot of how to's and giving you tangible tips, tools, and strategies just whatever you're going through. I give you tangible steps that you can implement right then and there and see if it works.
Love that.
So my YouTube channel is the superhero of love. I'm also on Instagram. I do have it as a superhero of love, but that's not my main one until I switch over the names. So it's just my name, Andray Summer, and on Facebook as well.
Perfect. And you have a little gift for my
I
audience. Do
do.
you mind talking about that?
Yes. So I created a small little gift for each and every one of you. It's called a superhero guide to master your awakening. The 11 super keys that I've implemented with tangible tips and strategies that you can use on how you can start leveling up with your morning routine, your mindset, spirituality, whatever it is, it's going to help you in some aspect of your life. It is my gift to you because I just wanted to just give back and just help you in your journey, superhero. And I'm here for you.
Awesome. I love that. And you guys can find that in the show notes right now. You just go down and click on that, and that will be there for you. So I thank you very much for that. Andre, I have one last question for you.
Definitely.
And I ask all of my guests this. In your own words, what does the bright side of life mean to you?
For me, it's living your truest expression and just being happy and
Mm,
just smiling
yes.
because you were born to be happy and loved. Yes, the world has polarity and duality. You can't have love. You can't have love without hate. You can't have light without dark. That's just how it works.
Right.
But we were born to have love. We're born to be happy, to be free, to be who it is, how it is we want to be in this world.
Yeah.
So it's just living your truest expression and just being happy, plain and simple. Doesn't need to be overly complicated.
No, it does not,
Yeah,
even though we do that often.
even though we do that.
Andre, thank you so much for coming
Thank
on
you.
here. This was such a joy talking to you, and I'm so
Pleasure.
proud of you and
Thank you.
everything that you have done and the work that you have done, not only to help the world, but most importantly, to help yourself and to still be here today, spreading your light and your love.
Thank you, Melissa. It was such a pleasure and honor just to be on your amazing podcast and hope we have another conversation at some point.
Yes, we absolutely will.